Good morning. It is December 14th, 2018, and at this point in my YouTube career, which is not just getting started, I've been at this sporadically but not consistently enough for a couple of years at least. The thing that I am best known for, which is to say the videos of mine that get around, are these two videos I did a couple of years ago on the topic of antinatalism. They were inspired largely by my reading of the book The Conspiracy Against the Human Race, A Contrivance of Horror by Thomas Ligotti. And I found Ligotti's arguments compelling, that rationally speaking, there is no reason to be optimistic, there is no reason to think that, human experience is better than the lack of it. His motto is, non-existence never hurt anyone, and everybody who exists suffers. So the more people you bring into the world, the more suffering you're going to inevitably, invariably, unavoidably create. So there's varieties of antinatalism. There's misanthropic antinatalism, humans should stop producing because humans suck. And then there's philanthropic antinatalism, which says, and this is I think Ligotti's position, that existence creates suffering, we should avoid suffering, therefore we should not make any more people. Well, these two videos, I guess they're easily classifiable. They are easy to serve up to an audience because they are so specifically focused on a particular topic. And these are the videos that have gotten the most views. They are the videos that have generated the most feedback. And to be perfectly honest, I don't read that feedback anymore because, with very rare exceptions, it's basically just angry, disgusted people shouting at me, people suck, humanity sucks, people should die. That's not a point of view I share. It's not one I'm particularly interested in. It's certainly not one that edifies anybody. There's no reason to think that I haven't encountered that viewpoint, that I haven't taken that perspective into account in presenting the topic of antinatalism. But people just feel compelled to put that out there. And that got me thinking just this morning that there are people who feel genuine despair. They feel actual disgust with humanity. They really think humanity should just stop existing for either the good of the rest of the biosphere and the rest of non-human life on Earth, or just because humans are so fundamentally flawed and disgusting that the universe, even if there's no conscious existence, no sentient beings in it, the universe would be better off without us. I don't feel that way. Some people do feel that way, and they have an artistic impulse, and they express that idea, that feeling, that sentiment, and they put it out into the world. It's basically like, writing your rage and your angst onto a piece of paper, putting it into a bottle, and throwing that bottle into the ocean. But these days, with the internet, doesn't happen often, but to some, there is this possibility that your message in a bottle will find an audience, and that it will resonate, and that they can click like. And that tiny vote of approval finds its way back across the ocean to your deserted island, and you get a little buzz, a little jolt. As a creator, you get a little hit of validation. And if you get enough of those hits of validation, you start to feel really good. And basically, the whole system, the bottles, the messages, the ocean, the people on the other side reading the messages and clicking like, this whole system starts to give you signals saying, hey, give us more of that. We like that. And so you respond and you think, okay, I'll give the universe more of that. But if you've touched enough people, if you've gotten enough likes, not only are you getting the neurological feedback, not only are you getting the signals of success from your environment saying, hey, you're doing all right, which is going to make you feel better, which is going to take you out of the mindset that led you to create that initial product, you're also going to get some money. If your videos get enough views, you can enable AdSense, and then suddenly, not only are you getting the social feedback, not only are you getting the cues from your audience saying, yes, we like that, we want more of that, but you're getting money. You have a very strong incentive to continue to produce this thing, but this thing came from a place of despair, this thing came from a place of hopelessness and from angst and from feeling just really shitty about yourself and your place in the universe and the universe at large. And how are you going to make more of that if now you're feeling good and you're flush with the signals from the environment of successful behavior and high status? Well, there's probably a lot of ways, but two ways for me come to mind. One is that you just fake it. You know, you're like that stage actor, that classically trained stage actor who doesn't have to get into character, who doesn't have to feel the angst in order to project it to an audience, in order to get the audience, to convey to the audience, this is the emotion of the moment, this is what you should read, and this is what you should feel from my speech and my behavior and my movements. Or you can get into character. You can be that method actor. You can find that place inside yourself that, you can rekindle that experience of angst and of misanthropy and of despair and of just feeling like utter crap and feeling like it's all unfair. You can put that mindset back on and project it out into the world just long enough to create another X amount of product to serve up to your audience so that they can get that validation for what they're feeling. And they'll click like, and they'll send that validation back to you. But for the time being, you're in character. You're not going to feel good about it. But once you hit stop on the camera, you're welcome to get out of character and feel good. So which is worse? The person who just totally fakes it, who just apes the forms, apes the vocal tonality, says the right words to get you to feel validated in your despair, but who themselves doesn't feel any despair at all, who actually feels pretty good about their success in life, or the person who actually gets back into that headspace of despair and angst so that they can feed you more of it. Which is worse? Well, it depends on your worldview. If you're a rationalist materialist, I would say that it doesn't really matter. Either way, you are encouraging a certain amount of despair in the world, which is probably a bad thing to do. But at the same time, you're also validating people who are feeling bad, and, people need to feel validated. It's really not helpful if you're feeling really down and the whole world is saying, hey man, just smile, just buck up, fake it till you make it, and you'll get there. That's not helpful. But at the same time, somebody who comes back to you day after day for just more reinforcement of this bleak worldview, well, that's not really helpful either. From a rationalist materialist perspective, just a straight up sociological, psychological perspective, I'd say it's a wash. Doesn't really matter whether you're in character or whether you're just, the classically trained actor projecting something that you're not actually feeling, getting the audience to feel despair and, feel hopeless while you yourself are basically just going over your shopping list internally. But if you think that there is something to this 100th monkey phenomenon, that your cognition, your consciousness, your experience isn't contained inside your head, that we are all participating in some higher level process, some consciousness, experiencing process, and what you feel and your, the character of your experience bleeds out into this larger thing, well, then it seems like deliberately provoking an experience of despair and anger and hatred and misanthropy in yourself is actually poisoning the psychic environment and possibly feeding entities that are nourished by those feelings and which then go off into the the larger system and create more of what they feed on. If that's true, then the person who has every reason to feel good about themselves and about their place in the world, but who for reasons of validation and money gets into character and makes themselves feel like shit for a time to create product from a different vantage point than humans normally have access to, they're doing something harmful. I'm not saying that that's the case, but I'm saying that if the idea that we are participating, if our conscious experience gives rise to a larger collective experience of some sort, then deliberately putting yourself into that mindset for the purposes of creating more despair product is harmful and should be avoided. So there it is. Chew on it. I'll do the same. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow.